The desperate night. The night sky over the alien village was heavy and dark. Clouds covered the pale moons, leaving the ground in shadows. The houses were broken, their walls cracked from years of war and hunger. Silence pressed down, broken only by the weak cry of a child. Inside one of the ruined huts, a mother sat on the cold floor. Her skin was pale green, her eyes wide with fear. In her arms lay her small son, his body hot with fever. His tiny chest rose and fell with shallow breaths. Each sound was weaker than the last. The mother pressed a wet cloth to his forehead, but it did nothing. She whispered softly, "Stay with me, little one, please." Her voice shook, her hands trembled. She had searched all day, running from house to house, begging for medicine, but every door gave the same answer. Nothing. No one had anything left. Her neighbors had once been strong, but now they only looked at her with empty eyes. They had no strength to help. Some turned away, afraid of sickness. Others closed their doors. Their hearts had grown cold after years of suffering. She stumbled back into her hut, tears sliding down her face. She looked at her son, his lips dry, his skin burning. She felt helpless. She pressed her forehead against his, whispering promises she could not keep. The night stretched on and the air grew colder. The mother wrapped her son in the last blanket, pulling him close to her chest. She thought about her mate who had died in the last raid. She thought about the world before, when food was warm and medicine was always near. But those days were gone, replaced by fear and hunger. Her son whimpered again, and the sound broke her heart. She wanted to scream, but her throat only made a dry rasp. Her eyes searched the darkness outside, hoping, praying for a miracle. Even though she had stopped believing in miracles long ago, the fire in the corner had burned down to nothing but ashes. The cold crept into her bones. She could hear distant growls from creatures in the woods. The village was no longer safe, but she could not move her child. If she stepped outside, both of them might be lost forever. Hours passed like this, filled with silence, fear, and the steady heat of her child's fever. She held him tighter, rocking him gently, whispering lullabies that no longer carried comfort. She thought of her own mother, who had sung those songs when she was young. Now she was alone, her family gone, and all that remained was the fragile life in her arms. Suddenly a noise broke the silence. Footsteps, slow but steady, echoed from the far edge of the settlement. The mother froze, her breath caught in her throat. Her eyes darted toward the doorway. Who could it be at this hour, in this cursed place? Her heart raced. She thought of raiders, scavengers, or beasts in human form. She pulled her child closer, ready to shield him with her body. Her pulse hammered in her ears. The footsteps grew louder, more defined. Not the heavy stomp of a soldier, not the dragging shuffle of the sick. They were strong, deliberate, alive. The shadow of a figure appeared in the moonlight just outside the ruined fence. The mother's fear deepened. She could not see the face, only the outline of broad shoulders and the glint of metal on his back. She whispered a quick prayer, her voice breaking. Then the figure stepped closer, and the dim light revealed a human. His clothes were torn, his boots covered in dust. A pack hung on his back, and his face looked tired but steady. His eyes scanned the ruined huts, then settled on the faint glow of her doorway. The alien mother's breath trembled. She had been taught to distrust humans. They were outsiders, wanderers, scavengers. Yet something about the calm way he moved made her hesitate. He did not look like a raider. He did not look like a thief. The human stopped at the edge of her hut. His voice was low but clear. "Is someone here?" Through shadows and danger, the human stood in the ruined clinic, the vial of medicine clutched tightly in his hand. The weak glow from his lamp flickered against broken walls and dusty shelves. Outside, the growls grew louder. The scavenger beasts were circling, waiting for him to step into the open. His breath came heavy, but his grip did not loosen. He slipped the vial into a small pouch inside his pack, securing it so it would not shatter. His heart pounded as he whispered to himself, "I will not fail, not now." He had fought too far, bled too much to turn back without hope for the child. He peered through the cracked window. Their glowing eyes moved in the trees, shadows slipping from branch to branch. He could count at least 3, maybe more. Their bodies were lean, their movements quick. They wanted him cornered. The human tightened the strap on his pack. Every sound of the beasts made his pulse race. He stepped slowly out of the doorway, his metal rod raised in one hand. The air was sharp and cold, carrying the smell of wet leaves and river mud. His boots splashed softly against puddles, each step louder than he wished. The first beast lunged from the dark, its teeth bared. He swung the rod with all his strength. The crack echoed as metal struck bone. The creature yelped and fell back, but another growl answered from the trees. 2 more darted toward him, claws scraping against stone. He ducked and rolled, feeling claws slash the air above his head. His shoulder struck the ground hard, but he pushed himself back up. He swung again, driving the second beast away. His chest heaved, sweat dripping down his forehead. His body was tired. but the thought of the dying child burned like fire in his mind. "Not tonight," he muttered, gripping the rod tighter. "You will not take this chance from me." The beasts circled again, clever and cautious now. Their eyes gleamed as they waited for him to slip. The human stepped backward slowly, forcing his way toward the broken trail. The path was narrow, lined with roots and jagged stones. Every step was dangerous. One mistake could mean death. Suddenly, one beast lunged low, snapping at his leg. Pain seared as teeth grazed his boot. He kicked hard, striking its jaw. The rod came down in a quick blow, and the beast snarled before retreating into the shadows. The human staggered, his breathing ragged, his arm throbbed from the fight, but he pressed on. The forest ahead was alive with noise. The night wind carried the hiss of insects, the crack of branches, the faint sound of water rushing far away. He knew the river would guide him back to the village, but he also knew the beasts would not give up so easily. They had tasted his scent and they would follow. He pushed forward through the undergrowth, branches tearing at his clothes, mud sucked at his boots, slowing him down. He tried to quiet his steps, but exhaustion made him clumsy. His heart hammered as another howl broke through the silence, closer than before. His mind drifted to the boy's pale face, the weak breathing, the mother's eyes shining with tears. That image pushed him harder. "I will bring it back," he whispered through clenched teeth. He would not let fear or pain break him. Minutes felt like hours as he stumbled along the river's edge. Shadows stretched long across the ground, twisting and shifting like living things. The beasts stalked him, their growls weaving through the night like a cruel song. He could not see them, but he could feel their eyes. The human found a fallen log bridging part of the riverbank. He climbed onto it, balancing carefully. His boots slipped once, sending ripples across the water. A growl came from behind. He spun, raising the rod just as one beast leapt. The impact shook the log near, like throwing him into the river.
The stranger appears. The human stepped slowly into the broken village. His boots crunched against scattered stones, and the sound echoed in the empty night. He paused, scanning the shadows, as if he already knew danger could be hiding anywhere. His hand hovered close to the strap of his pack, ready to defend himself if needed. The alien mother sat frozen inside her hut, clutching her child. She could see him more clearly now. His face was tired but calm, his hair was dark, a little messy, and his eyes held something she could not name. It was not cruelty, not greed, but something softer. Still, she did not trust easily. Her people had told stories about humans. Some said they came to steal, others said they were cold wanderers, caring only for themselves. She had never met one face to face, not until this night. Her heart pounded as she thought, should I call out? Should I stay hidden? The human stopped at the doorway of her hut. He did not rush inside. Instead, he spoke gently, his voice steady. "I heard someone. Is anyone here?" The mother hesitated. Her child stirred weakly in her arms. His small whimper was louder than her own breath. The sound gave her away. The human's head turned toward her instantly. His eyes locked on the dim glow where she sat in the corner. Slowly, he crouched down at the entrance. His body language was careful, not threatening. "You have a child," he said quietly. "He sounds sick." The mother's lips trembled. She wanted to hide her son, but the truth was too heavy. Her voice broke as she whispered, "He is dying, no medicine, no help." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she said the words. The human's jaw tightened. His eyes studied the boy, the shallow breaths, the burning skin. He did not turn away. Instead, he lowered his pack, set it gently on the ground, and stepped inside. The mother flinched, pulling her son closer, but the human kept his movements calm. "I mean no harm," he said. His voice was steady but warm. "I have seen this fever before." He reached into his pack and pulled out a small lamp, lighting the space. The soft glow revealed the child's pale face, the sweat clinging to his skin. The human knelt beside them. He touched the boy's wrist gently, feeling the weak pulse. The mother held her breath, afraid he might declare the child already lost. Instead, he sighed and looked into her eyes. "He has little time. He needs medicine, something strong." Her heart sank. She had already searched every corner of the village, already begged everyone she knew. "There is nothing left," she whispered. "The stores are empty, the traders are gone. I cannot save him." Her tears fell faster. The human looked down at the child again. His mind flashed with memories of his own sister long ago, lying weak in a bed on earth. He remembered the helpless feeling, the anger of not being able to protect her. That memory hardened his resolve. He stood up suddenly, his eyes sharp. There might still be supplies in the old clinic by the river, he said. If the beasts have not taken it over, if the walls are not completely fallen, something may still be there. The mother shook her head quickly, fear tightening her voice. No one goes there anymore. It is dangerous. The shadows take anyone who tries. The human's lips pressed into a thin line. He lifted his pack again, sliding it across his shoulders. Danger or not, I will go, he said firmly. The boy cannot wait until morning, the mother gasped, staring at him. She could not understand. Why would this stranger, this human, risk his life for her child? He was not family, not even her kind. Why would you do this? She asked, almost in disbelief. He paused at the doorway, turning back just enough for her to see the fire in his eyes. Because no child will die while someone can still try, he said, his words cut through the silence like a blade. The medicine found, the human staggered into the village edge, his chest burning with every breath. His clothes were torn, his arms scratched by branches, and one boot carried a smear of blood, yet his hands never loosened around the pouch that held the vial. The medicine was still safe, and that was all that mattered. The hut stood silent in the pale dawn, their broken roofs black against the gray sky. Smoke no longer rose from any fires. The whole village felt like a graveyard, but somewhere inside, a child still fought for life, and a mother still prayed for hope. He pressed forward, his steps unsteady, his muscles shook, his throat was dry. He had not stopped moving since leaving the clinic. The thought of collapsing tempted him, but he forced his legs to keep going. Every step whispered, almost there. The mother sat in the doorway of her hut, her child wrapped in a thin blanket. Her eyes were hollow from a night without sleep. She had not expected to see the human again, not alive, not after so many hours. When she saw his shadow appear in the morning light, her breath caught in her throat. He looked like a ghost returning from battle. His face was pale, his arms bruised, but in his gaze burned a fire she could not mistake. He crossed the last few steps and dropped to one knee before her. His hand reached into his pack with trembling fingers. The mother's eyes widened as he pulled out the small vial, glowing faintly with alien markings. For a moment, she could not breathe. Medicine, real medicine, still untouched, still powerful. Tears blurred her vision as her lips formed a whisper. You found it. He nodded weakly, his voice hoarse. This will help him, but you must hurry. She took the vial with hands that trembled so hard she nearly dropped it. Her heart hammered in her chest. With careful fingers, she opened the seal. The faint scent of herbs filled the air, sharp and strange but familiar. She pressed a drop into her child's mouth, then another, whispering prayers as she worked. The boy stirred, his small body twitching as the liquid slid down his throat. For a moment, silence filled the hut, broken only by the boy's shallow breaths. The mother held him tighter, whispering, please let it work. The human sat back against the wall, his vision blurring from exhaustion. He watched closely, each second dragging like an hour. He had seen medicine fail before, and the fear gripped him, yet in his chest, hope beat louder than doubt. Minutes passed, then the boy let out a faint cough. His chest rose deeper than before, his breath steadied, no longer so shallow. His feverish skin cooled slightly beneath the mother's hand. Tears spilled down her cheeks as she pressed her forehead to his. He breathes, he truly breathes, she whispered. The human let out a long sigh of relief. His body sagged, almost collapsing from the release of tension. He closed his eyes for a moment, whispering, thank you, though he was not sure if he spoke to fate, to the stars, or to his own stubborn will. The mother turned to him, her eyes filled with gratitude so deep it pierced his weary heart. You saved him, she said, her voice breaking. You saved what no one else would even try to save. He shook his head slowly, his words quiet but firm. It was not me alone, it was hope. It was refusing to give up. He leaned his head back, staring at the cracks in the roof above. But I would do it again, for him. The mother looked at her child, his small chest rising stronger now, then back at the human. She remembered how the villagers had turned away, how they had closed their doors, but this stranger had stepped into the dark for her son. Her heart swelled with feelings she had not known in years, trust, faith, even admiration. The battle and return. The morning light spread weakly over the broken huts, but inside the village, peace was fragile. The child breathed easier now, the fever cooling bit by bit. Yet outside the mother's hut, the human's body carried wounds that could not be ignored. His arm was torn, his leg bruised, and blood marked his shirt where claws had scraped his side. He tried to rise to his feet, but pain seared through him. His hand pressed hard against the wound, his breaths came shallow and rough. Still, he forced himself upright. He could not collapse here, not while danger still lingered in the shadows beyond the village. The beasts had not all retreated, their growls still echoed faintly from the trees, waiting, circling. The human knew they would come again, drawn by the smell of blood. If they entered the village, the weak and starving people would not survive. The mother stepped outside, her child safe in the blanket. Her eyes widened when she saw the human sway on his feet. "You are hurt," she whispered, rushing to his side. She tried to guide him back into the hut, but he shook his head. "No," he said hoarsely, "they are still out there. They will follow. They will not stop unless someone drives them back." His eyes burned with determination. Even through the pain, the villagers began to gather, their faces pale and uncertain. They had seen the beasts before, and they had always hidden. They whispered to each other, "He cannot fight them alone, but what can we do?" Their voices carried fear, but no courage. The human turned toward them, his voice steady despite his weakness. "You have lived in fear for too long," he said. "These creatures will not stop unless you stand with me. Together, we can push them back. Alone, I will fall." The word struck them like a spark in dry wood. For years, they had been silent, accepting suffering as their fate. Now the Y looked at the human, bleeding but unbroken, and shame stirred in their hearts. One old man stepped forward, picking up a broken spear. Another followed, gripping a rusted blade. Slowly, others gathered what little they had. Stones, sticks, tools turned into weapons. The mother looked at her child, then at the human. She kissed her son's forehead, laying him gently back on the blanket. Then she stepped forward too, her hands trembling as she held a sharp shard of metal. "If you fight for us, then we fight for you," she said, her voice firm. The human nodded once, a tired but proud smile on his lips. "Then we fight together," he whispered. The growls grew louder now. Shadows moved between the trees. The beasts crept closer, their glowing eyes flashing with hunger. The human tightened his grip on the rod. His body ached, but his spirit was fierce. He would not let the beasts claim victory here. The first beast lunged into the clearing, its teeth snapping. The human met it head-on. Swinging the rod with all his strength, the villagers cried out, rushing forward. Stones flew, sticks cracked against fur and bone. The beasts roared in fury, but the villagers did not scatter this time. They stood their ground. The battle raged in the broken village. Dust rose in clouds as feet stamped the ground. Blood mixed with mud. The human fought with everything left in him. Each strike burned his muscles. Each breath was fire. But he refused to yield. Beside him, the mother struck at a beast's flank, her cry sharp with rage and hope. The villagers, once silent and hopeless, shouted as they fought. Their voices rose together, no longer whispers of fear, but cries of defiance. For the first time in years, they fought not just to survive, but to protect. The beasts snarled and clawed, but the unity of the villagers pressed them back. Blow after blow landed, until finally, one beast limped away into the trees. Another fell to the ground, lifeless. The last few hissed and fled, their glowing eyes vanishing into the shadows.
Life restored. The sun rose higher over the ruined village, spilling golden light across cracked walls and broken roofs. For years, dawn had brought only hunger and fear, but on this morning the air carried something different, something fragile but real, hope. The villagers stood quietly in the clearing, their hands still gripping makeshift weapons. Their faces were pale and bruised, but their eyes no longer looked empty. They had fought, they had stood beside the human, and together they had survived the night. At the center of it all, the human sat slumped against the wall of the mother's hut, his body weak, his wounds deep, but his spirit unbroken. The mother knelt beside him, her hands pressing gently against his injuries. She whispered words of comfort, her voice trembling with gratitude. "You gave us more than medicine. You gave us courage." Inside the hut, the child stirred. His fever had lessened. His breaths were steady. His small fingers curled around the edge of the blanket. His eyes blinked open slowly, soft and weak but alive. The mother gasped, tears spilling freely. She rushed inside and lifted him gently, her heart breaking with joy. "Look," she cried softly, bringing the child to the doorway. Her voice shook with wonder. "He is awake. He is alive." The villagers gasped. their eyes filled with awe as they saw the boy's chest rising strong again. For days, they had believed only in endings, but now they witnessed a beginning. The human opened his tired eyes, lifting his head weakly. When he saw the boy alive in his mother's arms, a faint smile curved his lips. His body sagged with relief. Every wound, every battle, every sleepless hour had been worth this single moment. The mother knelt beside him again, cradling her son close. She reached out with her free hand, taking the human's bloodied fingers in hers. "I can never repay you," she whispered, her voice thick with emotion. "But you are part of us now, whether human or not. You are family." The human's eyes softened. His voice was low but steady. "I only did what anyone should do," he said. "No one should face despair alone." The villagers drew closer, their voices hushed with respect. An elder stepped forward, his gray hair tangled, his old staff shaking in his hands. He bowed his head to the human. "We were lost in our fear," he said, "but you reminded us that courage is not gone. You reminded us what it means to fight for each other." The human tried to protest, shaking his head weakly, but the villagers silenced him with their eyes. For the first time in years, they looked not broken, but proud. The child let out a small laugh, soft but clear. The sound rippled through the crowd like music. The mother kissed her son's forehead again and again, whispering promises of a future she had once thought impossible. Her tears fell onto the child's skin, not tears of sorrow, but of overwhelming joy. The human closed his eyes, exhaustion finally weighing him down, but his smile stayed, for he knew the boy would live. The mother would have her family again, and the village would no longer sink into despair without a fight. The villagers worked quickly, tending to the human's wounds. They brought herbs, water, and what little food they had. For once, they shared freely, without fear of losing. The act itself was proof of their change. They had learned from the stranger's courage. As the day passed, laughter returned slowly to the village. It was weak, uncertain, but it was real. Children peeked from doorways, their eyes wide with wonder. Adults spoke to each other with voices that carried something new. Hope for tomorrow. The mother never let go of her child. She sat near the human, her eyes never leaving him. She whispered softly, "You saved him, but you all so saved me. I was lost, I had given up, but you showed me that giving up is not the way.